StudyIQ IAS, आपका सिलेक्शन हमारा मिशन।
Hi everyone, a very good afternoon. Can you guys hear me, see me? Please let me know in the comment section. Hi Prithvi, hi Arpita, hi everyone. I'll just wait for one more minute. Let everybody join, then we'll go ahead with the class. Okay? Hi, good afternoon, Sheetal. All right, the students are here. Let's go ahead with the class. So, guys, we are still on book one. All right, this is the part second. Book one बड़ी है, हम लोग के 4 या 5 parts होंगे. So listen to everything very carefully. All right. So we had ended wherein the resilience, the determination that Satan has to take revenge has not ended. He again is planning to do a complete, a sort of, revenge on God. He knows that he is all powerful. He knows that he cannot win the war in any which way, maybe not in direct contact with God, but in some way or the other. And they are plotting it, and they know that ultimately where the revenge will land, that is on Adam and Eve. Okay, Beelzebub is there, his second in command. The entire army is there of all the devils. So we are going to go ahead with that, in mind. Okay. So now let us not slip the occasion where the scorn, I hope it's visible to everyone. Seest thou yonder plain forlorn and wild, and this goes on till, if not what resolution from despair. Okay, so let's go ahead with this. Now that the storm of God's punishment has settled, Satan urges Beelzebub to act quickly. We know for 9 nights this storm continued. When they were thrown, the war continued for a very long period of time, and then ultimately they were thrown in hell. They were told that, you still will have there your consciousness, you still will have your understanding. I'm not going to unequip you from the faculties that God has given, that is conscience. As in, feel hoga, pain feel hoga, dard feel hoga, guilt ho sakta hai ho, whatever, anger ho. The God is like, this is your perpetual damnation. This is how I will make sure that you all suffer, because I will not let that conscience get over. So this is a revenge that God is taking. So now he does not know whether God has spared them out of scorn. So he doesn't know कि गॉड ने ये जो किया है, ये स्कॉन से गुस्से में किया है, स्कॉन से किया है ये विश करके that you have to suffer, or if his anger has simply cooled. But either way, he sees an opportunity and refuses to wait it. Either way, he knows that there's something that's terribly wrong, and he's like, I know that I will suffer. Now, Satan points to the desolate and lifeless plain of hell. For a long, इसमें बहुत बड़े passages explaining us what hell is. So again, this lifeless plain of hell, a vast, barren landscape filled with faint, ghostly flames that cast a dreadful light. There could be a question in your exam. Describe how hell is. Elucidate on how hell is described in Paradise Lost. Okay, so there are, because hell के ऊपर बहुत बात descriptions हैं. So if it is a place of ruin and despair, but Satan sees it as a next battleground. So again, look at that. Satan has that sort of guts that he's seeing that this is going to be my battleground. I'm not going to take it as my dumping spot. I'm going to take it as my battleground. He tells Beelzebub, his very close friend, second in command, they must leave the fiery lake where they have been suffering and move to the solid ground. So because hell is a vast place, हर जगह तो गर्मी है, heat है, मतलब, and it's fire. So it's like, and they are on what? They're on fiery lake. Imagine a lake that is fire, molten fire. Okay, so he's saying that let's go to the solid ground, कि थोड़ा solid पे बैठ के बात तो कर सकें. There they can gather their defeated forces and hold a war council. And what is going to be the goal? तो कहते हैं कि हम लोग वहां पे अपने जितने भी हमारे फॉलन एंजल्स है सबको वहां पे ले जाएंगे. हमारा एक गोल है. क्या होगा वो गोल? टू फिगर आउट हाउ टू स्ट्राइक बैक टू गॉड. as Satan is determined to find a way to repair their loss, continue their rebellion, turn this disaster into a new plan. So again and again, it is being repeated that they haven't given their spirits. कहने करना तो है, revenge तो लेना है, ऐसे नहीं हम लोग रहेंगे, कुछ ना कुछ हमें गड़बड़ करना है. Even if hope is lost, he believes they must at least find strength in despair itself. If they cannot win, they will at least resist uh, to the bitter end. He's like, we know we might not win. He's almighty, he's omnipotent, he's omniscient, he has all the powers that this universe can bestow. However, we will resist. No matter that we lose, we will resist. And I think that was the most viable plan that they had. And the plan was to, in a way, attack Adam and Eve and make them eat the forbidden fruit. So they are very resilient with that spirit. Thus, Satan to his nearest mate with head uplift above the wave and eyes, and this goes, deeming some island off as seamen moors by his side under the lee wild night. Now, Milton shifts from Satan's speech to his to his physical appearance. Okay, now how does Satan look like? Okay, describing how huge and terrifying he looks as he lies partly submerged in the fiery lake of hell. So in cartoons, in VFX movies, somewhere or the other, if you know Voldemort, we somehow imagine what a Satan would be like. And that is what he's telling, that what is Satan. His head rises above the flames, his eyes glow with the fiery light, and the rest of his massive body stretches across the burning waves, making him seem as enormous as legendary giants from mythology. All right, so this comes out to be a very huge figure, and that is Satan. Okay, so this comes out very important as in how is he described. Now, Milton compares Satan in immense size to famous mythical figures. I have made a note of this because again, Satan के description पे या Satan पे एक note आ सकता है, which is important for all of you to understand. Okay, तो इसने किसने किससे कंपेयर किया? द टाइटन्स. द टाइटन्स कौन थे? दे वर पावरफुल जायंट्स फ्रॉम ग्रीक माइथोलॉजी हु फॉट अगेंस्ट जूस. ओके, तो ये एक ग्रीक माइथोलॉजी का रेफरेंस दिया है. Titans, Brioros, a giant with 100 arms, Typhon, a monstrous serpent-like creature said to be one of the most fearsome enemies of gods, Leviathan. So ये सारे जो हैं ये ग्रीक के हैं, ये ग्रीक माइथोलॉजी के रेफरेंस में बोल रहा है. अब वी नो दैट मिल्टन वाज अ क्लासिकल लर्नर, ग्रीक, हिब्रू, लैटिन, ही वाज वेल वर्स्ड. तो अपनी लिटरेरी एपिक है गाइस, रिमेंबर दिस, इट इज नॉट अ रिलीजियस एपिक, इट्स अ लिटरेरी एपिक. तो लिटरेरी एपिक में यू ऑल्सो शो योर ओन नॉलेज, योर ओन लर्निंग. रिलीजियस एपिक क्या क्या है? रामायण है, महाभारत है, विच जस्ट टॉक अबाउट रिलीजन एपिक. हाउएवर लिटरेरी एपिक में अपना खुद का क्लासिकल लर्निंग नॉलेज देनी होती है. तो यहाँ पे व्हाट इज ही डूइंग? ही इज बेसिकली talking about that, you know, that how it was like Greek mythology ke Satan se, unke god se, there is a comparison. Leviathan, a massive sea creature mentioned in the Bible, known as the largest of all creatures created by God. Okay, so now this comes again as next, the Leviathan comparison. Milton expands on the Leviathan comparison jo isne ye kiya hai, with a striking image. Sailors traveling at night sometimes mistake the Leviathan for an island because it is so enormous and still. तो उसने Leviathan बोला कि ये Leviathan है. Okay, इसको compare किया Leviathan से. Leviathan was this colossal, massive sort of you can say a creature. And लोग जब वो जब लेटा रहता था तो लोगों को लगता था कि जैसे हम लोग जो sea से travel कर एक island आ गया है. Now, they may even anchor their boat to its scales, believing that this is land, only to realize their mistake when the creature moves. Now, Satan का ऐसा strong description देना ज़रूरी है, because हम लोग को भी Satan को एक larger than life figure हमें इसको imagine करना है. तभी तो हम लोग बोलेंगे कि mammoth size होगा, तभी तो he would have something to fight against God. Milton seems to attempt to combine all these diverse pantheons under the biblical truths he writes on. True, that is absolutely true. And also that, you know, Greek mythology, from where will they draw comparisons other than Greek mythology. Because अगर हम लोग देखा जाए कि ईस्ट के पास, especially when it comes to India, because our culture is like 5,000 years old and we can talk about our own epics in certain way. English writers, they rely mostly on Greek literature for mythology, for all those Roman literature, for those mythological aspects. Otherwise उनका क्या है, उनका तो एंग्लो सैक्सन से शुरू हो रहा है ना लाइफ, उनकी तो एंग्लो सैक्सन ने ही इंग्लैंड बनाया है अल्टीमेटली, जाके जो ट्राइब्स आई थी 5th सेंचुरी में. लेकिन अगर इन लोग को ड्रॉ करना होगा, दे आर नॉट गोइंग टू ड्रॉ फ्रॉम एंग्लो सैक्सन्स ऑफ कोर्स, बिकॉज दोज वर जस्ट मेयर ट्राइब्स, बट फ्रॉम समथिंग दैट वाज larger than life, Greek mythology, Roman literature. Okay, so these are the aspects that, otherwise jitna bhi English literature hai, wo it is it is so deeply inspired by this kind of Greek elements कितने, चाहे वो हम इनका literary criticism हो, इनका drama हो, everything is Aristotle, Plato. Okay, so these are the elements that they draw. Yes, yes, exactly, Prithvi. So then this comes to this level. Now moving ahead. So stretch out huge in length, the arch find lay. Now Satan the arch find. ये बड़ा, now that I teach net also, ये net में बड़ा question आता है the arch find ही किसको बोला गया है. मतलब इसको बड़े जो भी होते हैं इसी तरह से question आते हैं. तो arch find, again an important term. Find is of course Satan को refer हो रहा है. The arch find is lying stretched out, chained in a burning lake in hell. Now Satan is describing this mammoth creature and the deplorable position that he is in. Okay, he is in a very deplorable state, and this is how it's happening. He would have remained there forever, unable to rise or even lift his head, except that God allowed him to be free. So now even God, he could have laid there. God चाहते उसको चेन कर देते, उसको मूवमेंट उसका रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर देते, बंद कर देते, उसकी सोचने की एबिलिटी ले लेते. But God said, I let you be you. I let you be free, do whatever you want to do. It's like an open challenge. जो करना है करो. So, but this freedom, ये जिसको freedom मिली है Satan को, is not a kindness. It is so that Satan can continue committing sins which will only increase his own punishment. So God is like that. You will not resist. You will not control yourself from committing all the whatever that you have done. This is the reason that you will suffer, and I will make sure that your punishment increases. The more bad you do, the more you will suffer. And that is what God had planned for him. Although he seeks to harm others, especially humanity, his actions will ultimately lead to more goodness and mercy from God for humankind. So he's like that. तो God का plan तो ये था ना कि humanity को corrupt करना. लेकिन गॉड ने क्या सोचा, तुम जितना ह्यूमैनिटी को करप्ट करोगे मैं उतना ही ब्लेस करूंगा ह्यूमैनिटी को. यू वांट मी टू बी अपसेट from be upset from the human race. I will not lose my cool. I will make sure that I keep forgiving them. Okay, so this is the reason that every religion talks a lot about forgiveness, that you seek forgiveness, you will get forgiveness. Forgiveness is something, it's the ultimate thing everywhere. All right, just a second guys, give me 1 minute please. In contrast, Satan himself will suffer even greater punishment, confusion, and wrath. And now, in retaliation, what will happen is that Satan would be the one to suffer. You corrupt human race and you want me to punish them? No, I will forgive them, but I will punish you. So that was God's plan. Eventually, Satan rises from the burning lake. As he lifts himself up, the flames part and roll back, creating a terrifying valley in the middle of hell. अब जब Satan को तो Satan is Satan. He is like, I'm not going to give up. वो फिर उठता है and creates a valley. Then he spreads his wings and flies into the dark. Can you just imagine? This is इतना जो ये लिटरेचर लिखा गया, इतना खूबसूरती से लिखा गया कि you can just actually imagine. The imagery is so strong. Imagery पे 100% question आ सकता है. Then he spreads his wings and flies into the dark, smoky air which struggles to bear his weight. He lands on dry ground, but in hell, even the land burns just as the lake does with unending fire. कहीं पे भी लैंड करे, वो मोल्टन जो लावा है, फायर है, वहां से उठे, वो लैंड पे भी जाए, सॉलिड लैंड पे भी जाए, वो भी उतना ही फायरी होगा जितना कि एक लिक्विड फायर है. Okay, so this is a very terrible state that he is living in, perpetually getting punished. Then, and such appeared in hue as when the force of subterranean winds transports a hill, goes to not by the sufferance of supernal power. Okay, so the scene describes how the land in hell looks and feels. Okay, it is compared to the violent eruptions of volcanoes like Mount Etna. So can you see one thing, that this story is so limited to only God and Satan, Satan rebelling against God, getting into a war, Satan being thrown down into hell, and then he plotting and making Adam and Eve eat that forbidden fruit, and then God gets upset, and then God sends Adam and Eve to earth, saying that that I'm upset with you. You don't deserve the paradise. However, they are very unhappy, but God also assures them that okay, for your atonement of sins, my son, that is Jesus Christ, would come and redeem all of you. Okay, and then this is how the book ends. The story is so as in short, the story is so it's not complicated at all. बहुत simple सी कहानी है. Religious कहानी कुछ भी देख लो, पढ़ लो, बड़ी black and white होती है. Okay, कभी भी shades of grey नहीं होते, because common लोगों को समझ में नहीं आएगा अगर बहुत ही ज़्यादा विलियम फॉकनर की तरह लिखने लगे. Anyway, so however, what makes literature at this Paradise Lost so rich is the way that it has been written. Look at how he's describing, be it the fiery lake, be it Satan, be it the mammoth, be it the Greek elements that are there, Greek mythology, whatever it is. So over here, look how he's comparing to the violent eruptions of volcanoes. So the land in hell looks like what? Like volcano eruptions, like Mount Etna, where fire and smoke burst from the earth, leaving behind a scorched and smelly wasteland. The ground they stand on is burned and covered in smoke. Satan and his companion, probably Beelzebub, take pride in the fact that they have escaped the river of the underworld. Okay, so they have escaped this river of the underworld. However, they are not free from this hell at all. They believe they have done this by their own strength rather than because God allowed them to survive. So उनको लग रहा है कि हम लोगों ने खुद किया है. But in a way, we know that God allowed them to survive. They see themselves as God-like, even though they have just been defeated and cast out of heaven. बड़ी मशहूर line है ना इसकी, that it is better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. Okay, so they look at the arrogance that they had. They're like, I'm not going to be a servant in heaven. I can be my king in hell. I want to reign in hell, but I will not allow myself to be subjugated to God. There are more and more stories from the Bible, but Milton has focused only on the tale of Genesis and given it epic form, creation, because that's the beginning of life. That's the beginning of story. जब 1859 में Origin of Species आता है Charles Darwin का, the entire religious ground shook. Why? Because all this while it was so easily accepted that it's Adam and Eve who, and we are ultimately the children. And it's not only Bible that actually believes in it. Be it Judaism, be it Islam, all these monotheistic religions believe in the story of Adam and Eve. And when 1859 में Charles Darwin को Origin of Species आया, that was, you can say, the beginning of how the life was then looked up. क्योंकि फिर तो बड़ा disparity हो गया. That was a moment जब church state में and science में इतना gap बढ़ गया. बिकॉज जब ये आया तो पीपल वर लाइक, हम लोग एप से आए हैं, हम लोग का एवोल्यूशन हुआ है. ओके, सो ऑफ कोर्स, सो दिस वाज द फोकस. व्हाई? बिकॉज this is the beginning of story, right? When we were kids, we were also narrated all these stories, especially Adam and Eve, that how we've come and made us to understand. And Adam and Eve ka, there are so many, when abhi to hum log padhenge, but then there are of course very patriarchal and misogynistic elements as well, because Eve is shown to be somebody who's not obeying Adam, and she was supposed to obey Adam, because when Adam was created, when God created Adam, then Adam felt very lonely. Adam said that I'm very lonely. So that is what all these religious books say. They say that that Eve was created from the rib of Adam, and she was created to be a companion to Adam, and she was supposed to obey Adam. All right, so these are elements that have been there, and maybe that is where That's the genesis again, from where the entire idea of patriarchy and misogynism comes. Because ultimately, Eve did not obey Adam, and she disobeyed Adam, God. So she has been shown in that mysterious element that, कहते हैं ना कि लड़की वही है जो आजकल के जोक्स होते हैं, that girls can destroy you and all that nonsense. So this is something that's there. So मुझे ये कहानी मतलब, I, of course, this is, you never know that how things are convoluted and how it is. But anyway, let's move ahead. So the scene describes how the land in hell looks and feels. It is compared to the violent eruptions of volcanoes like Mount Etna, where fire and smoke burst from the earth. Okay, okay. So ये हम लोग ने पढ़ लिया था ना, defeated and cast out of. ये तुम लोग ने पढ़ लिया था. Let's move ahead to the next one. Okay. Okay, is this region the soil, the chime, the climb, said then the lost archangel, this the seat, and then this goes to the last lines, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Look at these lines, okay? That's why reading book 9 felt a bit insufferable at times. Yes, you will realize it when we will come. Paradise Lost actually made me uh, really angry when I was reading in my masters. So I was like, this is so patriarchal, this is so against the idea of women, and however it is. But you never know that, how it is written, how it has been interpreted, how it's been years and years to Bible, to Quran, to all the Torah, Injil, whatever, these books that have been there, and then how these books have been interpreted, how they have been molded, how they have been made into a basic structure. Okay, so there are so many ideas that can be questioned over here, right? So all right, let's go ahead. So Satan now a fallen angel. अब देखो कितनी, ये जो लाइन है, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven, ये बड़ी मशहूर लाइन है, इस पे से क्वेश्चन आएंगे, मतलब ये कि इस पे बात करो. खैर, let's go ahead. Satan, now a fallen angel, looks around at hell and questions whether this dark, miserable place is really where they must live instead of heaven. He compares the mournful gloom of hell to the bright, joyous light of heaven. However, he accepts this fate because God is now the ruler. Okay, so he's accepted कि अब कुछ नहीं हो सकता, मुझको ही accept करना पड़ेगा. Satan then bids farewell to heaven, where happiness lasts forever. Okay, so उसको तो निकाल दिया. Now he calls hell as his new kingdom. He declares that his mind will not change because of the place he is in. His thoughts and attitudes are independent of his surroundings. He claims that the mind has the power to turn hell into heaven and heaven into hell. Look at the powerful line that he has written. What does he say? He claims that the mind has the power to turn hell into heaven or heaven into hell. Okay, depending on how one thinks. This is like one of the most wonderful lines that that Paradise Lost has. Okay, it is all about the mind. You can make hell into heaven and heaven into hell. Okay, this is how he's अभी बहुत किस तरह की बातें आएंगी when we will realize that that Milton has tried to give so much of wisdom angle to Satan. Satan reasons that it does not matter where he is, as long as he remains determined that I'm supposed to take revenge, and as long as I'm very convinced in my head that I'm the ruler of hell. So in a way, देखा जाए, so God is the king and ruler of heaven. He is the ruler of hell. I mean, both are somewhere in a way equal. Can you say that? So there could be so many contestation on this idea because religion आ जाता है. जहाँ religion आ जाता है, वहाँ debates पे debates हो जाती हैं, discourses, perceptions and all. He refuses to be anything less than what he was before, except for being slightly lower than God, who won the war through sheer force. Okay, so he's saying that वो तो God ने तो sheer force के साथ जीती, so what big deal. He then justifies ruling in hell by saying that at least here they are free. God has no reason to cast them out of hell as he did from heaven. Since they cannot be removed, they can rule without fear of being overthrown. कहने का अब तो हमें कोई डर ही नहीं है, हमें यहाँ से कहाँ आप निकालोगे, अब हम लोग करेंगे जो हमें करना है. So and then of course the very famous line, Paradise Lost, that it is better to reign in hell than to serve in than to serve in heaven. I don't want to be a servant in heaven. I'm ready. I'm very happy going to be a ruler in hell. Then you have, but wherefore let we then our faithful friends comes down to groveling and prostrate on your leg. Okay, now now standing in hell, Satan, now standing in hell, realizes that his fellow fallen angels are still lying in shock on the lake of fire. He wonders why they are leaving their allies in such a state and not calling them to rise and share in their fate. Okay, uh, ओके सो ही इज अभी तक तो सेटन और बील्ज़ेबब आपस में बातें कर रहे हैं, जो बेचारे फॉलन एंजल्स हैं, उनके बारे में तो उसके पास अभी समझ ही नहीं आ रहा कि क्या बोले. सो ही इज गोइंग टू, अब नाउ हिज पावरफुल स्पीच इज गोइंग टू कम एंड वी विल सी टू दैट हाउ पावरफुल ओरेटर ही वाज. सो ही सजेस्ट दैट दे शुड गैदर देयर फोर्सेस अगेन. उसको कि हम लोग जो मेरे फॉलन एंजल्स हैं, हमें अपने फोर्सेस को गैदर करना है, फिर से हम लोगों को उनका चार्ज अप करना है, बिकॉज बड़े एवरीबॉडी वाज डीमोटिवेटेड. सबका फैकल्टी, सबका समझ सेटन तो जैसा नहीं था ना. Either to try another attack on heaven or to see what more can be lost in hell. Okay. बील्ज़ेबब रिस्पॉन्स. अब बील्ज़ेबब क्या कहता है? बील्ज़ेबब वो कहता है ना बील्ज़ेबब को कि अभी हमें थोड़ा-सा मोबिलाइज़ करना है, सब बड़े डिमोटिवेटेड हैं, हमें सबको थोड़ा मोटिवेट करना है. बील्ज़ेबब, Satan's chief followers, responds by praising Satan as the leader of their great army. So he is like, Satan, you are the one who had this idea to rebel, and hence you are our beloved leader, which was so powerful that only God himself could have defeated them. He assures Satan that if their fellow fallen angels hear his voice, the voice that once gave them hope and courage in battle, they will regain their strength, even though they are currently lying on the lake of fire, groveling and in despair. They will rise again, just as Satan and Beelzebub have. He's like, कि फिर से motivate करो, फिर से सब लोग, they will strike back. After all, it is not surprising that they were left in shock, having fallen from such a great height. So key takeaways क्या हैं? Satan urges that they should motivate the fallen angels. He suggests that either fighting again or fully accepting their place. He's like, we got to accept their place and we also got to fight. And then Beelzebub reassures that Satan, you are our chief, you are our leader, and you will be the one to lead us. They were all left in shock and confusion. Why? Because everybody is kind of taken aback by where they were in paradise and now where they are. They never expected themselves to fall like this. Then he comes, his scars had ceased when the superior fiend comes to smite on him, sore besides vaulted with fire. Now, as soon as Beelzebub finishes speaking, Satan starts moving towards the shore of the burning lake. He carries a massive shield which is described as being ethereal temper, okay, made from a heavenly material. It's huge, it's round, so large that when it hangs on his back, it looks like the moon seen through a telescope by Tuscan scientists. Okay, अब देखो, he's kind of showing his literary knowledge also. ये सब भी important है, बहुत important है, because he's basically giving very contemporary discoveries also. जैसे कि चाहे science हो गया, कुछ हो गया, तो Milton is also, you can say, showing off his knowledge. Satan also carries a gigantic spear. Okay, it's a huge rod spear जो होता है, जो Satan का हम लोग pictures में भी देखते हैं. So enormous that even the tallest pine tree cut down in Norway for the mast of a massive warship could seem tiny in comparison. He uses this spear as a walking staff to support himself as he moves unsteadily across the harsh, burning ground. Okay, so this again happens. There have been questions related to Milton's own time, political circle, and there. Yes, of course, definitely. This is exactly why I told you the entire story. कि ये जो पूरा Oliver Cromwell was the, क्योंकि uh, uh, Milton was on side of Oliver Cromwell. Milton ओलिवर क्रॉमवेल की ही सपोर्ट में था, और मिल्टन ने बोला था कि बिल्कुल सही है ओलिवर क्रॉमवेल, भाई डेमोक्रेसी हो, मोनार्की क्यों है? ये क्या है कि आप ही रूलर बनोगे, आपके बच्चे रूलर बनेंगे? नो, खत्म करो, डेमोक्रेसी करो. वी आर गोइंग टू सिलेक्ट आवर लीडर, एंड दैट इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट सेटन सेड. अब उसने सेटन को तो पावरफुल, लेकिन बिकॉज मिल्टन इतना अमेजिंग था, मिल्टन वाज सो लिटरेट, कि उसको ना इसके कॉन्टैक्ट्स बहुत हाई थे. लाइक ही वाज इन गवर्नमेंट, ओलिवर क्रॉमवेल गवर्नमेंट में था. तो इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, आई रेड एन आर्टिकल समवेयर, एंड्रू मार्वल ने इसको एस्केप करवाया था. एंड्रू मार्वल वाज आल्सो एक रॉयलिस्ट था, एंड उसने हेल्प किया था कि इसको फांसी ना हो, अदरवाइज इसको फांसी होने जा रही थी मिल्टन को. सो एंड्रू मार्वल वाज द वन हु हेल्प्ड मिल्टन in escaping the execution that was set by Charles II. Why? Because he never fought or he never like was in the battlefield, लेकिन पेन से उसने बहुत इस्तेमाल किया है ना अपने थॉट्स को आर्टिकुलेट किया है कि नो नो दैट इज राइट. तो जब इसने ये लिखा तो ऑफ कोर्स दिस इज इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट टू द पॉलिटिकल सिनेरियो दैट वाज देयर एट दैट टाइम. अभी तो सेटन हमें बड़ा पावरफुल लग रहा है, ठीक है, और उसके बाद धीरे धीरे वो कैसे होगा, we'll get to see that how that ultimately उसने सेटन को दिखाया तो है कि उसने किया है इस तरह का, लेकिन उसने सेटन को विलेनियस रोल में नहीं दिखाया है. कहीं पिटी भी है, कहीं आप सिंपथाइज भी करोगे सेटन के साथ, कहीं पे यू विल आल्सो फील दैट दैट उसने गलत क्या किया है, इसने डेमोक्रेसी तो मांगी थी. Okay, so this is how it evolves, all right. So unlike the smooth light steps he once took in heaven, his movements are now heavy and difficult. But in your questions, such kind of questions will not come. ओलिवर क्रॉमवेल से कंपेयर किया नहीं आएगा, नहीं आएगा, क्योंकि यूपीएससी बहुत स्ट्रिक्ट रेजिमेंट को फॉलो करके आपके टेक्स्ट बेस्ड ही क्वेश्चंस करेगा. If given a chance, I would love to read, I mean, give a comment, like, give a question के describe Satan being compared to the political scenario. हो सकता है ये क्वेश्चन आ जाए, लेकिन ओलिवर क्रॉमवेल का डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन नहीं आएगा that how Satan is ओलिवर क्रॉमवेल और how ओलिवर क्रॉमवेल is Satan. ये आ सकता है talk about, elucidate uh, Paradise Lost in context to the political scenario of that time. This can come. This can come. We'll practice such questions. Hell burns him, and the sky above is not open and free, but vaulted with fire, trapping him in his terrible place. Okay, then we are coming ahead to the next one. Now, Nathless, he so endured till to slumber here as in the veils of heaven, despite the intense suffering. Satan Satan endures the pain and keeps moving until reaches the shore of the burning lake. Once there, he calls out to his fallen angels. So now he will address his fallen angels. Milton compares the fallen angels to leaves. Now look at बेचारे वो demotivated angels जो अभी तक अच्छा खासा paradise में ले रहे थे, बेचारे Satan के साथ आके look at what's happened. Very demotivated, like fallen leaves, because they are scattered everywhere, helpless, lifeless, just like dead leaves. He further draws historic and biblical comparison. Just as the Red Sea destroyed Pharaoh and his Egyptian army, leaving the bodies and broken chariots floating after they drowned, pursuing the Israelites, so too do the fallen angels, loud, defeated, and scattered in hell. Okay, so again, his learning, we can see where he's drawing the comparison from. Very high mythological learning. Satan then calls out in loud commanding voice. So ab wo jaga raha hai sabko. Okay, so powerful that all of hell echoes with it. He addresses his army as princess, potentates, and warriors. Okay, he is like, now look at, imagine koi ekdam team hari huई हो, and then you my warriors, okay, my princess, get up, reminding them that they were once the finest angels of heaven, but now they have lost everything. He mocks them, questions them if they are so overcome with shock that even eternal, immortal beings can feel such defeat. Finally, he taunts them, asking if they have chosen to lie here resisting after the exhaustion of battle, as if the lake of fire were a peaceful valley in heaven. He's like, have you lost it? Have you completely given it up? And don't think that this is going to be so glorious as heaven is going to be difficult living in hell. Satan continues to challenge his fallen angels, mocking them for their helpless, defeated state. He asks whether they intend to stay lying down in submission or they want to fight back God. Satan warns them that if they remain in this state, God, angels, their victorious enemies in hell will be satisfied. They will be very happy and they will take advantage of this weakness. They'll be like, Acha, look, they're suffering, let them suffer, we'll make them more suffer. Either the heavenly forces will come down and crush them forever while they're still weak, or worse, strike them with thunderbolts. It's like they will either penalize us continuously or they will crush us completely. So it's better if we get back and we keep fighting. He then commands, awake, arise, or be forever fallen. Another very powerful line. Awake, arise, or be forever fallen. Okay, मतलब look at कोई option ही नहीं. It's like do and die. करना ही है. You have to do it. So the fallen angels react, and what we're hearing, ये उसी का part है. बहुत लंबा था, तो I had to use this another slide. So hearing this, hearing Satan's word, the fallen angels feel ashamed and embarrassed. They are like, yes, we got to get up and fight back. Immediately they spring into action, just like soldiers caught sleeping on duty, and who, upon being remembered that you got to fight for your country, they all have gotten up. Even though they are in pain and aware of the suffering, they still obey Satan's voice with hesitation, rising in huge countless numbers. Biblical comparison, Milton compares the sudden rise of demons to an event from the Bible when Moses, Abraham's sons, raised his staff in Egypt. A dark swarm of locusts came with the wind, covering the land of Pharaoh and the Nile in deep darkness. Just as the locusts suddenly filled the sky, the fallen angels now rise up in hell. अब ये जो है biblical, also biblical comparisons बहुत है इसमें. We will have to discuss them very deeply once, when we'll be doing question answers, क्योंकि कम से कम बहुत strong biblical comparison हमें 8 से 10 याद रखना है, because such kind of questions can come. Also Bible से बहुत इसमें references हैं, Greek mythology, Bible and all. Now, the fallen angels rise in such massive numbers that they seem to fill the air under the vast burning sky of hell. You can imagine कितने सारे angels होंगे. They are hovering between the upper fires. Then Satan gives them a signal by lifting and waving his spear. This acts as a command for them to land. In perfect formation, they descend smoothly and evenly onto the solid brimstone's ground, covering the entire plain of hell. Okay, so now we are talking about these fallen angels. Historical comparison, again, Milton compares this vast army of fallen angels to the barbarian invasions of ancient Europe. He refers to the time when huge numbers of warriors from the North Germanic and Gothic tribes poured down from the frozen lands, crossing the Rhine, Danube rivers. These warriors spread destruction from Gibraltar and Spain all the way. So can you see there are a lot of historical comparison? I have made a note. Please make sure that you all are learning it, revising it. The leaders assemble. Immediately after landing, the leaders and commanders of each group rushed to stand before Satan, the great leader. These were once glorious godlike beings who sat on thrones in heaven, possessing princely and divine authority. However, their names have been erased from heaven's records as a rebellion caused them to be removed from the book of life. Okay, so the leaders, they all assemble, and this is going to be very momentous for everyone. Now, then you have, nor had they yet among the sons of Eve and various idols to the heavenward. Now, at this point, the fallen angels do not yet have the names that humans will later know them by. धीरे धीरे सबके नाम होंगे. अभी तो सब fallen angels बस Satan और Beelzebub है. अभी सबके नाम होंगे. Okay. Even though God is already the master of the universe by virtue of being its creator, Satan in this sense seems to lie already. You see, of course, there have been elements wherein you will get to see, but Abhi, that the point that we are coming ahead, Abhi, right now, you'll see that the way Satan, in a way, talks about addresses. Abhi to jab address karega, you will see a huge level of star-like quality in him, that that how he doesn't let. I really think that Satan को बहुत लोगों ने बोला है that he's kind of the star of this book. So let's go ahead and explore that. Okay. Okay, so now they do not have names. They were cast into hell. However, they will eventually wander across the earth because God, in His divine plan, allows them to do so as a test for humanity. So, God also said that earth के around भी करेंगे hover ये लोग ultimately, because He also wants के, or God also wants, will feel elated जब human race corrupt नहीं होती है. तो कहते हैं ना कि जब आप चाहे गलत रास्ता आसान लगे और सही रास्ता मुश्किल लगे, लेकिन सही रास्ते को चुनो, बिकॉज़ सम गॉड इज़ आल्सो सीइंग ना दैट हाउ माय ह्यूमन रेस इज़ नॉट फॉलोइंग द रॉन्ग पाथ, एंड इन अ वे दैट इज़, वो जो है वो तो सेटन का लॉस है. So as these fallen angels spread lies and deception, they corrupt most of humanity, leading people away from worshiping the true God. Instead of honoring the invisible creator, human begins to worship idols, often in the form of animals. Demon worship and paganism. Because of this deception, humans mistakenly worship demons, believing them to be gods. These fallen angels become known by different names across different cultures as they are worshipped in various religions. So, of course, he's talking about paganism, often representing by pompous and lavish idols. So, यहाँ पे, because Christian, जितने भी monotheistic religions है, they discourage idol worship. They say that, humans do not know. Human race thinks that, they are worshipping gods, but in a way they are worshipping idols. This is a very strong concept even in Islam also, because wherein you do not believe, you do not have to believe, or Christians or Judaism or whatever all these religions are. So they believe, so isme bhi iska hai ki, they humans might worship, but they cannot, they should not. Why? Because they can be worshipping Satan. All right, now to mujhe lag raha hai abhi, recent, the Epstein files that have been reopened. I mean, it sometimes feels as if Satan is no demon like or gigantic or mammoth. I mean, it feels like they're just humans. I mean, I do not know what's behind its Epstein files, but it is nothing but absolute satanic, and it's beyond words. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. Something that is unimaginable. I think couldn't have ever imagined. I do not know what world that we're living in. What is this world leading to? But every day there's something or the other comes, which is unbelievably shocking. So let's go ahead with this. So yeah, same use the names then known who first, who last, and then and with their darkness does unfront this light. Milton, following the tradition of epic poetry, okay, so we know question is 100% I got talk about that how this Paradise Lost is basically your literary epic, okay. So he calls upon the muse to help him name the fallen angels. Ab sare fallen angels ke naam rakhe jayenge, who first respond to Satan call after resisting rising from the lake of fire. He asked who were the first to wake up and approach Satan, which demons were the most powerful and more important. So आप सबके नाम रखे जा रहे हैं. Among the countless fallen angels still standing in a disorganized crowd, the greatest and most infamous ones come forward first to stand near Satan, the worst of the fallen angels. So सबसे खराब fallen angel आया और अब उसका नामकरण होगा. The most significant of these demons were those who, after being cast into hell, later roamed the earth seeking to corrupt humanity. तो कुछ लोग ना, Satan ना, सब कुछ कुछ तो already चले गए कि किसी तरह से humanity को corrupt करना है. These demons set up their temples and altars near God's true temple, trying to replace the worship of the real God, Jehovah, with their own false worship. They were so bold that they placed their own shrines and idols near the very sanctuary of God. तो उसने बोला है कि Satan के भी अपने खुद assistants हैं, जो कि उसको हेल्प करते हैं करप्शन दुनिया में फैलाने के लिए. These idols and false gods were considered abominations, and they corrupted sacred rituals and feasts, mixing God's holiness with wickedness and darkness. Okay, so this is like कि आप सबके नाम, और अब देखा पहचाना जाए कि कौन कौन ऐसे एंजल्स है जिनके पास इतना गट्स थे, इतना करेज था कि just immediately after they lost it, they were kind of trying to mobilize themselves and trying to corrupt the humanity and make themselves as false gods, making people believe that we are gods. Then you have, okay, sorry. Then you have, at this point, the fallen angels do not yet have the names that humans will later know them by. तो अभी तक धीरे धीरे सबके नाम रखे जाएंगे. And then it is, just a second. Yeah. They were once glorious angels. Okay, however, they will eventually wander across the earth because God in his divine plan allows them to do so as a test for humanity. As these fallen angels spread lies and deception, तो ये जो fallen angels हैं who declared themselves as gods, false gods, they were the ones, they were spreading lies, they were spreading deception, they corrupted most of humanity, leading people away from worshipping the true God. So in a way, not letting the God be worshipped, okay, the true God be worshipped. Instead of honoring the invisible creator, human begins to worship idols in the form of animals, the image of a brute that are decorated with gold and elaborate rituals. He's like that, instead of real God, they worship false gods, and there are elaborated rituals, there are this, there are that, and so on. Demon worship and paganism, because of this deception, humans mistake worship demons. So they worship demons, they don't worship real God. So these fallen angels become known by different names across different cultures, as they are worshipped in various religions of the ancient world, often represented by pompous and lavish idols. So he is, in a way, this is also, of course, elevating Christianity to the level of complete supremacy among religions. So he is kind of trying to position Christianity as the most cultured, the most civilized religion of all the religions. क्योंकि जितने भी थे, of course, he was so learned, he was aware of all the religions that were there, and hence he was trying to position also, and Christianity, and in a way, also, you could say that, this was a time 1667 में लिखा गया है, and the process of colonization had started. Egypt में, India में, they all were kind of, spreading their colonial rule. So in a way, क्योंकि इंडिया में जब ये लोग आए थे, इनका सबसे पहले मुद्दा यही था ना कि हम लोग अनकल्चर्ड हैं, अनसिविलाइज्ड हैं, हमें पता ही नहीं कि क्या है. So all these kind of literature was also being propagated that people are they are dumb, they are illusion, they're living in illusions, they are unaware, and hence Christian supremacy meant, of course, adapting the complete Western culture. So this, and also in a way legitimizing, authenticating, validating their own idea of colonization. Again, I would say that these are all understanding, that we are understanding the text, that why and how is Milton creating such a superior level of Christianity by emphasizing upon how Christianity only prays to true one God, one God, one God, and not multiple gods, not idol worship and all. So, but is तरह के question, I doubt that will come, but it is just for our understanding. All right. So, guys, with this, I'm coming to an end of this part. And tomorrow we will again be, sorry, tomorrow, Monday, we will be again continuing with our book one. All right. If anyone has any questions, you guys can ask me right now in the comment section. Otherwise, we will just talk. We can just look forward to everything Monday. All right then. ठीक है. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I'll wrap up the class, and I'll see all of you on Monday. And okay, I know it's fun, because there could be so much discussion. I think whenever religion comes into picture, there could be so many perceptions, so many discourses, so many things that anything, you there could be so many ideas that could come. सो पैराडाइज लॉ से इसी वजह से मुझे लगता है कि ये लोग कभी भी बहुत डाइल्यूट नहीं करेंगे पैराडाइज लॉस के क्वेश्चंस को, बहुत रिस्ट्रिक्टेड रखेंगे. सो गुड फॉर अस. The more difficult the text, the easier the questions are. Always remember that. Thank you, everyone. I'll see all of you now on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you, Gauri. Thank you, Arpita. Thank you, Prithvi. Thank you, everyone.
स्टडी IQ IAS, आपका सिलेक्शन हमारा मिशन.